What child training is necessary to prepare a preschooler for school? That's today's question. To set my preschooler up for success in school, there are academic skills he needs to learn, and there are social expectations he needs to learn as well. In today's video, you'll hear the strategies that I'm using to train my 3.5-year-old's character for those academic skills and the social expectations. My name is Eliza Southwell, and this is how I train my children well. Now, my eldest is 3.5. That feels kind of early to start preparing them for school. I promise I'm not a tiger mum. I'm not cracking the whip. Sure, I've been building the hype for school, but I like to think I've been very attentive to his inner intrinsic motivation to engage in school. Being attentive to that, we've dabbled in phonics and introduced numbers, like in car games, for a 1.5 years, unschooling style, if you like. Now, I'm saying preparing him for school and talking about his teachers' expectations. I fully intend to homeschool, but I intend to run my homeschool similar to a regular school, at least for his core subjects. My social expectations of him in school include respecting me as his teacher. And so I'm saying school and teacher. I think what I've been learning in this process applies the same if you want to homeschool in the future, like I do, or if you want to send your child to school. This video is not about helping you make that choice. Now that we're taking a step up and we actually have aims, part of the preparation he needs before he's 5 is understanding what are the social expectations of a sit-down school lesson. The other part I'm introducing to him is the academic side, mainly confidence with a pencil. Today's video is not about an explanation of what worksheets I'm using and what curriculum I like. Today's video is how do I train my child's character for that. So there are a few principles I'm integrating as I'm preparing him for school. First, his engagement, his general excitement about starting school is key to how much we're working on building these skills. I'm unashamedly using his excitement about school as a motivation to him to comply with my conditions for teaching him, like sit down. You want to do school? Then you need to learn how to obey the teacher's instructions. And in this case, I'm the teacher. So I'm teaching him the boundaries that define school lesson. If you don't enforce the boundaries, then they're meaningless. At some point, engaging with my child's choices just turns into chaos. So the problem is, how do I enforce those boundaries without crushing his excitement for school? Or on the other extreme, giving him the impression that school is an easy come, easy go kind of thing. So I have my principle of working from his engagement, but it comes with some questions as well. Another principle that I'm hanging on to is giving him options and choice where I can. My eldest child especially appreciates this because he is strong-willed and he loves to do things his way. And sometimes I'm quite happy with that. It doesn't make a big difference to me. It's very important that when I do give him choices, I actually don't mind which choice he takes, so that his choice really counts. Again, this raises some questions. I will get there. A third principle that is key is the principle of rupture and repair. In a minute, I'm going to cut to describing our second day of lessons, where we had a disagreement about the boundaries of school. As I attempted to repair with him, I was careful not to push affection when he didn't want it, and I tried to give him space and time, because repair takes patience. He needs time to grieve that he can't get his own way. So the problem and how I managed it, intrinsic motivation carried him through day 1. He was just super excited to be there, to be doing the worksheets, so into it. On day 2, he was more curious about the boundaries. What are the rules for school? Of course he was curious about the boundaries. He's a strong-willed child, and he is obsessed with the thought that he can find a better way. But part of preparing him for school is preparing him to respect the authority of his teachers. Proverbs 23 verse 12. Apply your heart to instruction and your ears to words of knowledge. There are 4 key parts of this verse that apply to my preschool and how I train him to get used to school. Apply. That means work hard. I need to push him and teach him how to push himself to learn even when it's hard. Next part, your heart. Engage in a child's interest. It's not there for no reason. It's a gift. Instruction. Learn from the experience of your teachers by repeating it for yourself. And ears. Make sure you listen and understand before applying it generally. So here we go at day 2 of a 5-day preschool week. So this is day 3 of school, homeschool for Montgomery, who's 3.5. Fun worksheets, that kind of thing. The aim is that by the time he's ready to enter prep, he can write all of his letters and all of his numbers, and he can write his name, and he can read like 3-letter words, like consonant, vowel, consonant words. Cat, mat, sat, dog. We've been doing this, and day one was, Montgomery was really excited about it. And then, so we worked for 45 minutes, and I was like, okay, well, we're all done. I could see he was a bit disappointed, so I said, we could finish now, or you could have another one if you like. And so we ended up doing more. So we've been doing those worksheets, and on the first day I was like, okay, after 45 minutes, this is great. We had a brain break after 20 minutes or 30 minutes. We went outside and I put some music on and we jumped around and we danced, and then turn the music off and freeze. That was well received and great exposure to Beethoven's Fifth. Yesterday, so day 2 of this kind of curriculum, we sat down together and Montgomery decided, no, I don't want to do that worksheet first. I want to do a different worksheet first. And I thought, oh no, if I can't say yes to this. I could tell he was just throwing his weight around. Like, if I let him start choosing the order of worksheets, then I will have no control. And if I don't have any control in the classroom, then I can't direct his learning. It was easy to decide I can't say yes to this. What was more difficult was, how do I enforce, no, you have to do the worksheet that I choose? So what we ended up doing was, I thought, look, what did they do in school? In school, when I was in school, if we were sassing the teacher, then we would sit outside in the corridor. So it was an opportunity for cooler heads to prevail, and an opportunity for kids to calm down, quiet place, a bit of perspective maybe. When the teacher had a break in the lesson, probably after the maths talk and into the practice where there was more independent learning, the teacher would come out and have a chat and sit down next to the kid and have a chat, and then they would go back in together. How can I recreate that idea at home? That's worked for one generation of kids. I am trying to make a split-second decision. I'm just gonna go with that. I gave him an option. You can sit here and do school with me and we can have fun, or you can sit in your room and have some quiet time. He couldn't decide, and so I decided for him. And so he went off to his room. I helped him to his room, and we sat together for a while. Initially, we kind of sat on opposite ends of his bed because he didn't want to hug and he didn't want to talk and so on. And then gradually we started a game, and then after 15 minutes, I was tickling him and he was having a ton of fun. And this is Lincoln. 10 minutes after that, he totally calmed down. He was ready to come back. We spent an hour and a half on school that day instead of an hour that we took the day before. We started school half an hour late, and then we launched into school. We did 20 or 30 minutes, and then we had our brain break, and then we did another 20 minutes. Do you want to go back and see the crabs? No? So that's what we did yesterday. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, yes, I do like that. That's a familiar kind of consequence to him. He understands that kind of consequence. He understands how to get out of that consequence by calming down and being civilized and potentially saying sorry, although not in this situation. So today, when things were threatening to go pear-shaped and he was throwing his weight around, he was like, no, I want to do these worksheets first, or I don't want to do that question. I knew that this option was here as a backup, and I could use it if redirection didn't work, and if explaining the question further, because maybe he just doesn't understand and that's why he thinks it's hard, if that didn't work. So I think on day 3, I'm thinking that this strategy will be quite useful. That's how I'm approaching homeschool at 3.5, when what I'm really trying to teach him is the skills that will get him ready for school when he's 5. Learning to use a pencil, learning to sit down, learning to follow instructions. That is the strategy that I'm finding helpful.
This situation was all about maintaining the boundaries. I explored removing him from the environment and how that would apply to a typical kind of school environment that I'm trying to teach him how to exist in. I didn't want to remove him to a more engaging place. I didn't want to send him outside to play. Instead, we used a boring and familiar place, his room, to reset and repair. I do the same thing when my 3-year-old's having trouble sitting in church. I don't want to just let him loose to play outside. We go to the car, which is familiar and boring. That's the strategy I found super useful when I was stuck on day 2. But to step back for a moment, what other strategies are in my toolkit that I can use and apply in this kind of school situation to deal with unwanted or inappropriate or uncivilized behavior? Number 1, it's a new place, so clarifying the directions. Maybe he's disengaged because he doesn't know what to do. Certainly in my prep and grade 1, I remember being constantly confused about what I was supposed to be doing. And my anxiety about being punished for not finishing the work that I was supposed to do but didn't know how to do was a short road to hating school, or frankly, deciding that I was just dumb. Clarifying the directions shouldn't be something new or groundbreaking to me. I'm just applying the same skill that I've been using before in a different setting, in this kind of pseudo school setting. Second strategy that I use all the time, and now I'm applying here: distraction. So obviously, redirection still applies. He goes on a little tangent, I'll take it and I'll show him how it applies to what we're actually doing. Engaging worksheets and gamified learning help a lot here. A third strategy: removing privileges. We end every day's lesson with touch typing on my laptop. Now, generally, he's not allowed to touch my laptop at all. So having a touch typing lesson is intensely exciting for him. It's a privilege that he only gets once he's finished all his worksheets. And the thought of losing that privilege motivates him. So I hope that one of these strategies stands out to you as something you can implement this week, whether you're starting preparation for school or teaching your daughter how to write her name, or if you're not up to that yet and you're just applying these strategies to your own situation. In preparing a child for school, there are a lot of character skills that need to come together at one time and in one situation for him. And it's my job as a parent to help him integrate all of that so that he can, in the words of the psalmist, apply his ears to the words of knowledge. And that's all for today on the well-trained child.